What's up, Union Arena players? This is Kyle D, better known as RideMyAvatar, and today we're going to be covering Week 1 and Week 2 of One Punch Man's meta. So it's going to be very interesting to see where the meta is diverting and where it's changing up. So without further ado, let's dive in the video and talk about it. So starting off, if you guys want me to find your list, you need to use hashtag Union Arena Tops. There's no way I'm going to find it without it. And then if you want, post on the EX Burst tournaments so that it fills out so I can grab your list. And then we have also the competitive event as well. I won't be using the data from the rare battles because rare battles are single style. They do not, mirror out because, again, you're playing only One Punch Man decks. You're playing only Demon Slayer decks. Those kind of restrict your play style and you're just limited to that info. So let's just take a look. We do have on our week 1 of One Punch Man, definitely getting some tops with the green Saitama, yellow Saitama, Esper Sisters, and then we also had, Speedo Sound Sonic doing something, but the big two were definitely in droves there. I mean, the original big three during Demon Slayer was definitely the Tanjiro, Jujutsu Kaisen, and the Code Geass. There's all great decks as well. You do have Bleach still just hanging on in the format. I mean, Bleach is a very solid deck, and it's not going to go anywhere anytime soon. But you get Muzan popping up, Speedo Sound starting to pop up. These decks do come in time to time, but it's good to just see where people are going. Now, week 2, a little bit different. We had Jujutsu Kaisen blue, Sukuna list still doing stuff. Then you do have Garous just leading up into the pack. Maybe players aren't just really on purple code right now, but it's kind of cool to see Garou up there. You also have Saitama. You have other than Muzan actually moving up in the world too. That's kind of cool to see that Muzan starting to make waves even in this format. Means the format's changing up a bit, that Muzan's able to breathe better, which is kind of interesting. Or decks are starting to evolve and adapt with the Muzan. But you have Suzaku, Tanjiro, Metal Bat. Even Red Demon Slayer has shown up multiple times, which is very interesting. A lot of players have written this deck off as just something they don't really want to be playing. You do have Speedo Sound Sonic still reappearing, and then you do have the Esper Sisters, but Yellow Gojo as well, and Purple Bleach still hanging in there. But again, this isn't all complete accurate data because I don't get to see all your lists. If you guys post your lists using the hashtags on X or Instagram, Facebook, I'll be able to find them more comfortably. But we need to start doing that or else I'm never going to find it. Taking a look though, here's some Jujutsu Kaisen. Taking a look, I want to see how they're starting to adapt. This one's more focused on the Sukuna build. And again, it's hit or miss on how you like to play it. This one is definitely find your piece or you kind of just, lose because it's so heavy dependent on fingers. But then you have the Kento Namami lists, which I'm a fan of as well. I think there's a lot to be said about this deck in general. There's a lot going on. You kind of take in what you can, right? I think the deck has a lot going for it. Kento being able to apply pressure. You have Sukuna applying pressure. Yuji Itadori can bounce threats and kind of just clear the way and just get in the damage you need. But again, it's all up to you how you want to be building the deck, and there's no wrong or right way to build the deck. I like that we are starting to tech in pandas to help nullify the impacts that we need. We also do have none other than another Sukuna list with the shrines. This one is using I think they're just a very stock standard list. Again, I really do hate 2 action point cards. This one is another Sukuna list. Taking a look, Shrine, Sukuna just being Sukuna. They're not playing anything spicy, actually. Now, taking a look here, we do have a Kento Sukuna list. Outside of that, it's just very standard. Again, this is what you kind of come to see more often than not in these lists. I get the color triggers being split 1 to 3, but if you're going to be just playing this many of Yuji Itadori's anyway, I mean, I just want to get down to... Okay, so we're down to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 non-triggers, which isn't bad. I think 5 is just where you want to be at with this list. Now taking a look here, we have 44 triggers in this one. This one is focusing on the Shrine Sukuna. This one is strictly Kento. They are playing the 3 action 1 Nobara, which is not a bad take, right? I'm taking a look here. They are still at the 5 non-triggers, which is pretty good, to be honest with you. The lower the non-triggers are, the better off you are. Now taking a look here, this one's more based around the Toto swap shenanigans. So basically what you do is you may switch one of your characters on both your front line and energy line. With Toto, you know, being able to swap characters to get in extra attacks. Again, playing similar to like how Speed of Sound does, or, you know, Sonic, the Tanjiro Nezuko wants to do, just swapping in pieces and out just so that they can get extra attacks in. Sometimes might be worth considering just of how well you need to be more aggressive in the format. So it might be worth taking a look at doing that. Now, again, we do have another Sukuna list. This one's just basic stock. Now, let's see. We have Purple Bleach. Again, Purple Bleach still trying to keep itself on good footing here. We have the super pre-release of, you know, Oryu, you know, Ichigo's. Just, this is kind of fun to see that this can be replaced now with something else, which again, for players that want to max rarity stuff, this is your options. So again, they are playing the restand triggers. They're trying to bring this as triggerless as possible, which is smart because again, you want to have as maximum value for your triggers as you can. And again, they're bringing in null impacts because again, impact decks are very scary. Now taking a look, here's another Purple Ichigo list at 43 triggers, so 7, but they are playing Ichigo's Room, which again is a great filter to speed up the tempo of the game because the game is getting to the point where you want to be killing things as soon as possible, so it makes sense with Ichigo's Room to help speed that up. Now again, another Ichigo Room as well. It's just good to see how people are deck building. Now let's take a look here. We do have another Ichigo Room. Wow. Now we do have the Daki Daikai list with the Muzan. So Daikai, Daikai. So with Muzan in it. Again, this deck has a lot going for it, especially with the Jotaros being able to, if it's like at the end of the game where they only have 1 life and they're forced to block, if you can get 2 Jotaros out, 5 attacks is nothing to be scoffed at. We're getting to the point where multiple attacks are more important than just the 4 attacks you normally produce, so it might be good to start adapting to that strategy. Now, taking a look here, we do have Purple Code. I think there was one more. Yep. Here's another stock Muzan list. The big problem with Muzan is that its trigger count is such a problem. You don't want to be at 32 non-triggers, but the deck does extremely well, especially if you can get Muzan off. That double impact and double damage is always scary. Now, Purple Code, as you know and love, this deck has always been adapted to this strategy, but I've noticed that a lot of players have been upping this C2's count instead of being 2 to almost 3 to 4s. Again, that draw potential is always scary. Now, again, taking a look, players are still sitting on 2, but I think it might be a smart move to bump this up. Now, taking a look here, very interesting that they're playing a Reason to Live in the deck. Again, but they're playing a full playset of the CCs or C2s that are going to draw you a bunch when you use your 2 action point cards. And there's not many in the list, but if it's removal plus, you know, this, you're going to be drawing a lot of advantage that you want. Now, taking a look here, 3 C2s, you know, 2 action point Lelouch here. Just everybody's playing the deck how they want. This deck has really very little bad matchup. It just has a lot of good, like, back and forth with just how much removal is in the deck. It's just a powerhouse. Now, taking a look here, back at it again. Players love or hate having. Wow, they are playing three of the 2 action point, which again, you have the C2s to draw you some cards to get some decent advantage. Now taking a look here, you have plenty of resources here. Again, just a very solid stock list. Now we're getting into the Tanjiro Inosuke, the Zenitsu and Inosuke list. They aren't playing the Donut Man here, but you know what? I think if it works for you, especially being able to add Beast Breath, Fifth Fang, Crazy Cutting, just being able to give an extra damage +1 to an Inosuke. It gains that extra damage, so they have to decide on if they're blocking it or giving you that impact. So, you know, it's a win-win, right? Because you're going to go up in DP threshold enough to deal with a lot of threats. Now again, this is more the Tengen Wives build. So being able to double attack, but with the, you know, Rangeko, Geko. Just can't speak today, like I ever can speak. But having the removal spells and just this deck in general plays slightly different than even just the base red. Being able to double attack, being able to produce multiple attacks sometimes is just really solid. Now again, here's a very more stock list of what you would find from day to day. You know, being at only 4 non-triggers in the deck is really where you want to be. But the problem I do have, there is not a many at all the ability to draw cards in the deck. A lot of it is if it comes to hand, you can play off of it, which is really solid at the end of the day. But the problem also leads into the fact that you're really not drawing out of that, you know, situation. You don't have a draw trigger in your life. You know, I mean, yes, get triggers do help out, but you're just going to add cards in your hand, which is fine. But you need to be able to draw cards as well, because sometimes those pieces are in your deck. Now, taking a look, this is another very much commonplace. You know, the Inosuke seems to be in or out of decks depending on what they want to do. I mean, being at 6 non-triggers is fine. You want to be in that kind of range most of the time, so pretty solid. Now, taking a look, though, here is Garou. Garou is doing some crazy shenanigans with its get to 15 strat and just apply pressure that way. You know, being able to 15 or more in this character gains plus 5,000 DP once per turn this character attacks and it is not blocked, it switches to active. So forcing them to take damage is always scary. But you also have Fist of the Flowing Water Crusher Rock, which is basically what you want to be doing is activating this removal spell, give your Garou this protection, because again, this ability makes it so that the special gets shut off and added to their hand if they use it. You know, choose one character, you know, 5,000 DP, choose up to 1 Garou in the field. If your opponent sidelines this character with a special ability, they add that card with a special ability to their hand instead, so that they basically do not get the free removal. I like this kind of protection because occasionally you need those kind of protections. Now, taking a look, you have the Boros with the Garous. Garou's just going to be able to apply pressure all day long. You know, also having Garou that has Nullify Impact and an double damage is always scary. Now, taking a look here, we do have a Speedo Sound fusion with the Garou deck. Just very interesting. I think this is just for either closing out late game, or it's straight up just... No, you wouldn't be closing out late game. Unless when played, remove 3. No, you don't want to shut this out. I think the Speedo Sounds are for the early games just to get those additional early pokes. But outside of that, nothing too crazy, right? Now, taking a look here, Speedo Sound Sonic. This is more stock list, what you kind of find from day to day. Minus the Monster Association. I don't know if I really like this. When switch to resting, place 1 Garou or Monster Association affiliated card from your sideline at the top of your deck. I mean, yes, this helps cycle pieces back in, and I think that's pretty good if you can just get this card back, but you can't. This is not a target. So Boros isn't a target, but you will be using it for, you know, Mosquito Girl, Garou. I mean, it helps. At the same time, I don't know if that's really what you want to be doing. Now we get the Esper Sisters. The Esper Sisters like using a lot of option event cards, so you have a lot going for you with these. You know, you got Hellish Blizzard, you know, Terrible Tornado, just great value there. Now again, this is another like hybrid deck where it's got Saitama plus Genos plus the Hellish Blizzards and stuff. Now again, Hellish Blizzard just doing Hellish Blizzard shenanigans. Just being able to manipulate your event cards, getting them back into the fray, and just being able to reduce their cost is always great resource value. Now you have Saitamas and Hellish Blizzards just going off. You know, players are deciding to tech this in just so that they can get the draw value and possibly getting their hero cards back. You know, it's a great possibility, right? Now, taking a look, you do have Genos, just being Genos and applying pressure. Yellow Punch Man is just a great deck. Yellow Punch Man, you know, you got the Saitamas that are going to just apply pressure. No King in the list, which is very interesting. They probably did not feel like they needed to use it. I don't know. Giving yourself, let it go seems like what they're trying to do is just apply pressure with the Hellish Blizzard if they bring it up. I mean, it's not a bad choice. Yeah, no King in this one either. Is people just deciding King is just not worth it? Interesting. Now, see, this list has it, and this is Winters. I would follow Winters' lead. He does a really good job with deck building, so just keep this in mind. Consistency is king. Now, you do have the Tanjiro Nezuko list. Likes the multi-attack. You're just going to see this deck go crazy. And Jiru, you know, the Nullify Impact is really solid. A lot of players have been on this card for a bit, and I think it's a smart move. Now, taking a look, you have the Tanjiro Nezuko list that just likes to get in there. Again, Tengen is showing up to be in the list now just because it is a 3K. Now, we're getting into Metal Bat. This is Metal Bat with Saitama. You know, this is not a normal list. This one is definitely what players use for, you know, hybriding because they like Metal Bat. Metal Bat has some great, you know, you do have some affiliation here because no matter what, your heroes are all in the deck. So if your board gets full, at least Metal Bat will be able to apply pressure. But the only downside is this deck wants to play like a control strat and use King to mill stuff because again, King's not dealing any damage. He's just helping you get to the Saitama and just clear game. Now you do have, you know, Lancelots with the fighters just because again, this early game aggression that this can be while you're trying to set up your big boy Lancelots is always great. You know, Europe side, well, taking a look here, you have the split top two in the case, 18 players. You know, Lancelot's really solid. I'm not going to lie about that. I think the deck is pretty good tier 2. It just doesn't have as many tops because, again, a lot of better decks in the tops. You know, Lancelots and Colin Fighters, the Cornelia Fighter. Taking a look here. Nothing too out of the ordinary. This is just very stock lists where you just see Lancelot just being able to apply pressure. And especially even if you don't even do the rage, you just slam them down at double damage is scary for a lot of players to deal with. And then we do have just Saitama being the final deck we're going to talk about. This is more stock list what you would find for a pure Saitama list. You know, just control with King. You know, Silver Fang's gonna just apply pressure that way. I like Hero Associate just because it can speed up the tempo clock. And, you know, going second, you play this. You get to play your 3-cost Geno for free. And then, boom, you're ready to go from there. I think this deck has a lot going for it. And a lot of players will keep tweaking and adapt. And I want to see where everybody goes week after week. But all in all, guys, hopefully you enjoyed the video. Hit that like button and that subscribe button. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll catch you next one. Peace.